the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for joining us at our home away from home here at the airport for our October meeting of Kirkland County Council. We'll begin with our regular administrative items, including beginning with the approval of the meeting minutes from September 10th and October 1st, the special second budget hearing meeting. So, Jeff, have you had a chance to?
Yeah, I've looked over both of those. If you want to just, I can approve those at the same time. Just say with no corrections or additions.
Okay, so a motion to approve the minutes, second by Joe. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
October 1st, I abstain.
That's right.
So let's do two motions. You can't half vote.
He's in the minutes.
Yeah, you can't half vote. So let's redo that as a September 10th motion.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and say that one carried 7-0.
Okay.
Another motion for the October 1st
Yes.
one, please, Jeff.
Yes. With Todd being absent, everything is fine.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve October 1. Do I have a second for that? Second by Mike. All those in favor, raise your right hand. That motion carries 6-0 with Todd abstaining.
Who was the September 10th, the second?
Joe.
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 Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Okay, community corrections. Brett, anything you have for us this month?
Just some numbers.
It is on the agenda. There's a line there. Community
Oh,
corrections.
yeah, I just looked right up. So it's presidential tired eyes.
Just so that you stand corrected.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, good morning. We have 87 clients on our program this morning, 4 on CTP. We have 1 on pretrial release, and we don't have any juveniles at this time. That's really all I have today, unless somebody has any questions.
That is short and sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions for Brett? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. That brings us to Nancy with the probation report.
Morning.
Good morning.
I have a big 0 this month. I probably won't have a 0 for next month, but I do for this month.
We love zeros.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have. Our Justice Partners grant will be renewed, hopefully we'll get the answer for that for next month for our peer recovery coach grant.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, that moves us on to the new business portion of the agenda, beginning with an introduction. We have with us today Dee Nicely, who is the new interim director, I believe it's the correct title, for Clinton County Extension. You'll see on our original agenda that Josh Winrott was supposed to come. He's the area director for Purdue Extension, and he messaged me this morning and was unable to attend. So we're going to let Dee introduce herself and care to share any comments or thoughts that you would have with the council.
Sure. Good morning. It's nice to be here again. I'm Dee Nicely. I've been with Purdue Extension coming up on 10 years. I'm actually with the Tippecanoe County office. I'm County Extension Director there and 4-H educator, one of the 2 4-H educators there. So I'm excited to join this team for a few months to help them get some new things going. So we're really excited to work. I'm excited to work with them and to be a part of them. And we have a new Ag and Resources educator that I was hoping to introduce today, but she's under the weather. So next month we'll make sure that we bring her for an introduction. So I look forward to working with each of you.
How long do you expect the transition to be, or your term?
I believe through the end of March is kind of what we're planning at this time. So I look forward to it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming and introducing yourself. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is I wanted to make sure we got this on the agenda to keep it moving forward. But last month we heard a presentation from representatives of the town of Kirkland about a request for some funding for the Monon Trail extension that they're attempting to do there between Kirkland and the Boone County line. And so the request that was made of us was $100,000, and we had asked for some time to consider that. And Mary was kind enough to follow up with her contacts in Kirkland and sent us some additional information there that you received with your packet. And so I just wanted to bring this topic back up for, it doesn't have to be a decision. If you still don't feel comfortable, we could table it further, but I'm not sure what we're waiting on. It feels like we've got the information that we needed and asked for, and so we owe it to Kirkland to give them an up or down answer. So I want to open the table up for discussion, floor up for discussion, bring it off the table.
Well, was it last year's discussions that we committed to 60,000? So we're just talking about 40,000? Okay.
Yeah, the ask has increased from 60 to 100, correct? I think what we wanted to know last time was to have a little bit better idea of the use of the project or use of the funds. Was this merely going to be for construction of that first mile? Was it going to be used as a grant match to further leverage? Was it, how were the county funds going to be utilized? I think what we learned is there's a little bit of both. I think they're going to try to leverage this after the fact somewhat by using the mile that is constructed as local contribution to be used to apply for grants to help further extend beyond that initial mile. But there's no specific grant now that we're saying our money is a direct match to, if that makes sense. So we had earlier partnered with Kirkland on their streetscape project that has turned out wonderfully. I mean, I think all agree that Main Street downtown Kirkland looks fantastic. So this group has a history of following through and really, performing with the dollars the county invests. And I would call it an investment. I mean, I do think that it's an opportunity to leverage local dollars for more.
And what you say, Rick, is not actually a direct grant match. When other funders are being asked for money, they do look at who else is giving money. So it does make a difference. So like if they're going for a community foundation grant, for instance, and they see that the county has put money in, that means there's local buy-in to this project. So it's a good thing.
This would presumably come from our seeded budget, the economic development budget. There are funds available. So I guess I just would throw it out again and ask what's the council's pleasure. Would entertain a motion if there's.
I would make a motion that we commit $100,000 to the Inland project.
Okay, I have a motion by Mary to move forward with $100,000.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Todd. Any last discussion or comments? All right, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. The motion carries 7-0. Mary, I'll let you be the go-between with Kirkland and let them know of the decision. So I guess next steps would be we'll need to do an official advertisement of that. And so the funds won't technically be appropriated till next month, but that'll give Janet the go-ahead to get that advertised. Okay, next up, a final approval adoption of the 3 budget ordinances, one for the county, one for Wildcat Solid Waste District, and one for Frankfort Clinton County Airport. What we've done in the past, and I'll try to stick to that here this year, is that we have that budget book that's a 2.5-inch binder, and we summarize it down into a couple of pages of budget, departmental budget totals, and I typically in the past have just read those budget totals for the record and for those watching online. But so bear with me here. The tax rate funds are the general fund with an adopted budget of $15,463,150. The reassessment fund with a budget of $270,152. The debt service fund, which is the short-term debt service fund, that's the 3-year for reimbursing the EMS tax, at $1.6 million, $576,658. The big debt payment fund, which is for the annex bonds, $1.9 million, $1,907,000. Wheel tax fund, $900,000. Cumulative courthouse, $201,500. Highway fund, $4,550,941. Local road and street, $816,751. Cumulative bridge, $892,500. Health department, $647,962. EMS, the EMS income tax fund, $1,999,549. 911, $741,725. Cumulative capital development, $193,000, and CEDA economic development, $1,038,530. We also have some other funds which are funded. I guess these are home rule funds is the distinction here. Central dispatch, the other half of 911's part of the budget, the other portion is central dispatch, $1,289,062. The lit public safety, $1,421,349. CASA, $30,900. Surveyor's Corner Perpetuation Fund, $50,000. Surveyor's User Fee Fund, $11,250. The lit jail correctional facility, $1,953,799. Clerk's record perpetuation, the perpetuation fund, $20,000. Federal inmate housing fund, $1,787,557. The 2021 bond fund, which is paid from our CAGIT income, our certified shares income tax, $445,000. The 2020 sewer and water bond, $686,000, also paid from the certified share income taxes. Lit, the other half of the EMS budget, $1,764,391. Local public health services, $719,686. The IDAX, identification security protection, $4,900. Plat book maintenance, $38,400. Records perpetuation, $96,161. Adult probation administration, $146,715. Juvenile probation administration, $5,000. Landfill tipping fee, $1,453,989. And infraction deferral, $9,000. So those are your however many county budgets there, 20 to 25 or so county budget funds. Any questions, comments, discussion on any of those prior to adoption? Once adopted, they'll be sent to the state or to the Department of Local Government Finance, who do a state review, and then they give us a response back in what is called a 1782 notice that usually comes mid-December. And generally speaking, they're checked off as okay, but if there's anything that the state sees doesn't make sense to them, they may ask us to revisit a budget for whatever reason.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-13.
Okay.
Second.
Which would be the county budgets, all those. I guess I want to ask one last time. This is a big number. That's 40 40 some $million there altogether on 2 pages. I can't add that quick, but 30,199,418 on page 1, 11,933,42. Yeah, 159 on page 2. No questions, comments? Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Who was the second?
Todd?
Mike.
Mike,
Okay.
second, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so then that moves us to the Wildcat Solid Waste District budget. They have two funds, just one fund, the regular general fund budget of $366,682. Entertain a motion on that budget.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Mary to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Jeff. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. And then last but not least, the Frankfort Clinton County Airport Authority budget. They do have two budgets, Airport General Fund, $857,200, and a cumulative airport building fund for $66,000. Total of $923,200. Entertain a motion on the airport. Motion by Carol, second by Mike. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. All right, another budget year cycle completed for now until 1782. Yeah, these are they're piling up there. Did you cover my agenda?
No, I didn't. That's just signatures.
I covered my agenda. Okay, that moves us to old business, which is this month's additional appropriations, of which we only have a few this month. I can get to that part of the book. Beginning with the County Home Gifts Fund, we received a donation of $100 that we're appropriating to supplies for the residents in that fund. From statewide 911, Renee, I may let you speak to that one because that one was a little bit of a.
Yes. So I believe originally I had moved money from our shift supervisor to overtime.
Yeah.
In the meantime, our shift supervisor in that position, we had not filled it. She had left in April. She wanted to come back, and we would have been foolish not to bring her back. So after I had completed that and moved that money, I needed to put it back over because we put her right back in that position. So I'm sorry, yes, it all just happened.
Essentially a reversal of an earlier transfer.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you I wanted to let you
Yes, no, you're
explain
good.
that. $650 community corrections. It says a check from a landlord placed back into the opioid housing fund. Brett, is that one you can maybe speak to real quick? When do we get a check from the landlord?
Sure. The landlords I am working with are putting deposits down, people in recovery, and once they do move out, the landlord will give us that money back. We can continue to recycle it.
Okay, great, thank you. That makes sense. Surveyor's office has a couple of items. First of all, from Carroll County, the spring settlement to $1,095.98 for the Jackson Lit watershed. I'm going to skip the next one and do the watersheds altogether. $496.78 from the John Milner watershed, also from Carroll County. $50 from the Margaret Riley watershed from Carroll County. And then the big one is a $407,000 appropriation. This is a large drainage reconstruction project, the Latshaw-Liebenguth project. This is a project that Dan's taken out a loan for to accomplish the work, and then the funds, the drainage assessments will pay back the loan. But this is the appropriation of those loan proceeds to be spent so that we can write checks from those proceeds. So $470,000 for that. And Dan sent me a message. It's the installation of a 36-inch tile. It's 1.1 miles of new tile, 36-inch. That's a big one. That's a big project. That's a big one. So that's what that funding is for. And that is all this month of the additional appropriations. Any questions on any of those?
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion by Jeff to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Mike. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. We do have some transfers. There's several by pages, not much by dollars. We'll begin with weights and measures, $400 from equipment to office supplies. And then we have several from the highway department. And this goes back to the fact that the highway department, if you'll recall, we have an MVH restricted and an MVH unrestricted. And the driver's salaries get partially taken from the restricted and partially taken from the unrestricted. And we needed to move just a few dollars for each of those operators to balance out the payroll from the correct fund. So you're going to see however many operators we have, several, moving between $3 and $5 to make their numbers work out on which comes out of the correct fund for the first portion of those payrolls. So I don't really want to go through and read all of those. If you have any questions about all of them, but it's all of our driver operators. They're all either $3.60, $3.20, or $5.40, depending on the position. And the monies are being moved from one open operator position, so that's why it's a transfer, not an additional appropriation. We do have the funds available in that open position to just move. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think, Janet, did I catch all of them?
Did you have this one for the courthouse?
There's one.
Did I miss one?
Right at the beginning.
Yeah, $6,050. I think it should
Yep, I
be
sure
the
did.
first one.
I had
Yes.
2 pages stick together, I'm sorry.
Okay.
$6,050 from building improvements to the maintenance and custodian. This is again where we kind of do that situation where a new person comes on and kind of shadows the incumbent for a little while, and that gives us a little bit of extra money to help a new hire in some training. Okay, now I believe we've caught all of them. Any questions on any of the transfers? Okay, I'd entertain a motion unless I already missed it. Did anybody- Okay, Carol has that motion. Second. Second by Mary. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Britt has provided us with our financial report, the fund status report, and then also a budget status report, and we reflect in the meeting minutes that we have been provided that and have received that, and I'd like to always show that in the form of a motion. So if anyone would care to make that motion this month, you can memorialize yourself for all of posterity. Mike has that
I'll
motion,
second.
and Todd with the second that
I'll
we
be
received for this month's report. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Council reports, any council reports that we have?
I have a couple.
Okay, great.
One I want to share that I shared this with you, but I want to share it with the rest of the council, that I spent 5 hours at Frankfurt High School week and a half ago, teaching government classes about county government and about how important it was to register to vote. There was quite a few 18-year-olds that I met that day, and they hadn't been registered yet, so we talked about that. And the teacher and the students were very receptive to this, and so they would like me to come back in the spring. But I think we'll be invited again next year. But I'm thinking maybe other counselors might be interested in participating in that, and maybe we can do the same thing in other schools. Take 2 of us go to one school and 2 of us go to another. It was 5 classes, so there were 3 classes in the morning and then 2 in the afternoon. And but I really felt like it was worthwhile. I spent time teaching them about where our money comes from, including how much taxes they pay. They looked at me like, I don't pay taxes. And I said, do you have a job? Oh, yeah. And I said, at the bottom it says CO, that money goes to the county. Oh, yeah. And then do you have a car? Well, you got a plate, you get excise tax, you buy gas, you get, you pay gas tax, you buy tennis shoes, you pay sales tax. And so it was interesting, and they really understood it. And then I talked to them about jobs in the county, and if they weren't thinking about going to college, what jobs in the county they might think about working, where they might be interested in working. So it's good.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And when Carol and I talked about it some more, we actually started dreaming a little bigger and say, do we reach out to all the county schools and try to just do this across the county rather than just to Frankfurt? So we'll see what happens. But that was really.
What grades were those?
What
grades?
They were mostly juniors and seniors, the government classes.
Yeah, the senior government class. Yeah.
There were lots of 18-year-olds, and then interestingly enough, this was on Friday, and on Saturday, the Hispanic Festival was downtown, and I saw one of the young men from one of the classes, so I was chatting with him, and my husband came up, so I introduced them, and then Larry said to the young man, so what did you learn from her? And he said, I guess I'm registering to vote. So I was happy. I said, good answer. You get an A for that day.
Thank you for doing that. That's
You're
fantastic.
welcome. You're welcome. Then I have a couple others.
Sure.
Tomorrow, Lieutenant Governor Crouch will be at Healthy Communities at 10 in the morning for a community discussion about mental health. Anybody's welcome to come if you want to. She's going to be there. There'll be a panel discussion. But it's at 10 o'clock, and it's at the Healthy Communities building. So that's 1234 Rossville Avenue. Then I know Elise Mashallah was here. Were you able to be here? I know her really well, and I was so sad to have missed her being here. But she's a great
state comptroller.
And so I was only available by phone that day to chat with her, and that was good. Then I also reached out to our CMHC to see where we're at with that. It's moving very nicely. They're not seeing any delays. They're working on their final paperwork with the state.
Great.
So, and then I also wanted to comment that the county United Way giving has been, I think it's been mostly completed. If there are departments who haven't sent their information to Cecily, I would encourage you to do that. I'm hoping to gather that up this week. And the assessor's office did a bake sale, and we raised about $500 for that. And so I think the county's giving may end up about $7,000 or $8,000. So that's good. Thank you for that. Thank you for the ladies in the courthouse who work on that so much. So that's it.
Any other reports? Okay. Commissioner report. Commissioner Weaver, anything?
Nothing to report, Alan.
Okay, thank you. Department heads, any department head, any time? Sheriff, is the streak continuing?
It's continuing. We're, Sheriff Kelly here, for those that are listening and watching the video. We're finishing up a hiring process. We have several great candidates, so we'll look, and we're looking to fill one position. So we are at that point. I also have a merit deputy that is in a disciplinary process, so I do need to reach out to you, and we will have some costs from that. And obviously, we would ask to be able to take care of that through either commissary, the federal inmate fund, but there's going to be some costs on a disciplinary action that is set for a public meeting next Wednesday.
Okay.
So regretfully, but it is something that does have to happen, and is part of the merit rule policies. So that is pretty important to us.
Okay, more to come on that then. That's
more to come. Basically, the merit board needs, they have representation, so we'll have to pick up the cost on that attorney, and also my legal deputy through, for myself.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Disappointing, but on the flip side of that, we are taking donations. We've been asked by the Indiana Patriot Guard, which is a group that supports our veterans, but also they're supplying relief to the Tennessee area and also into the Carolinas. And we are just a collection point. So, you know, I think there is a flyer that they have out, and we'll check and see if we have that posted on either our sheriff's app, and you can look at the sheriff's app, and or you can look at the Facebook page, and it'll be on there. But they're collecting items to take down there. So water, new clothing, things like that. If anybody wants to donate, they are going to pick that up probably about the 10th or 11th of October, and then transport it down there. We're just assisting in a holding facility for them, so we'll probably have it in the garage downstairs, and they'll pick it up and transfer it. And so there's no extra cost to us or anything like that, other than just providing the space and a public drop-off point.
Okay, very good.
So we are, you know, still in the process with the commissioners of trying to get the HVAC and plumbing and electrical, and I think I finally got some final bids on that, so I'll present that to the commissioners at the next meeting. And it's not good prices. It's up there. We're talking, you know, probably close to $1 million in the plumbing and electrical. So it's something that, you know, we'll definitely have to consider, but it's.
Well, unfortunately, I've been kind of expecting that to be that kind of a number, so
yes,
we'll figure it out.
And you know, and some of the bids don't even have the cost of the materials. It'll give a estimate of what they need, but it's not a final cost. So, but then we'll let the commissioners. That's why they got that role. So we'll let them deal with that. Everything else seems we're getting ready to turn into the fall season if we get rid of the heat and all that. So just please be careful on the roadways, and obviously it's going to get darker sooner. Watch the kids on the roadways, the school buses, and transportation. And the farmers are out there. I think for the last couple of weeks we've seen a lot of extra traffic with our farm equipment. Please be aware and watch what they park on the side of the roads, things like that, especially in the evenings. But you know, knock on wood, so far we've had minimal impact. I think the Michigantown Blacktop project may be impactful if we don't pay attention to avoid it. But they got to get that work done out there between Mulberry and State Road 39. We also have road construction there, so please be careful and watch the road crews that are hopefully going to finish that project up here soon.
Okay.
So other than that, we're moving right along. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other department heads? I see a few.
So I just received an email as we were sitting here this morning. We officially got approved for our first grant.
Yeah.
It's been approved from IDHS, so we're excited about that. So it was over $100,000 that we requested. It was to put in, we asked for portable radios and laptops, so that in the event we had like a tornado go through and it takes out communications, we can go to certain areas and use those portables and the laptop to function on TAC channels, like in different areas throughout the county if we would need to. So, we're excited about that. So,
All right, great, good news.
yes.
Congratulations.
Anybody else?
I do have one other
Okay,
thing
sure.
for LEPC. I'll send out an email to the council later. We are having a tabletop drill on Saturday, October 26th, and you all are invited. It starts at 9 o'clock at the Frankfort Police Department, but I'll send out an email later today to all of you.
Okay. And we try to have a council representative
Yes.
there to check that box. It gives us extra points on our scoring. So I know you've done that in the past. Did you enjoy that? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you volunteering to do it again?
Sure.
That's right. Yeah. We'll make sure we have somebody there.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, this is a fast meeting. Some sort of record maybe. I'll open it up to anybody that has, beyond just department heads that has business to come before the council. Yes, sir.
Hello, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Tim Dillingham, Transport Officer for the Sheriff's Office since 2006. I'm here to talk about the salary survey and the discrepancy between job classifications. Right now, I just received the sheet and it showed a approximately $5,000 difference between jail officers, beginning jail officers, and what I make. Councilman Mink, Councilman Hensley can both speak to this. The transport position, when I started in 2006, was a position that paid between $1,000 and $1,500 more than starting jail officers. The reason was because it was a tiered position. It was a promoted position. It required more responsibility. You have a car, you have a gun, you're dealing with the judges, the courts. We're basically our own administrators because we coordinate all the trips to the prisons, anything medical, we schedule. I guess I was just a little taken back by the difference in salary that the salary survey came back and said that it was $5,000 approximately different, even with my longevity pay, which I thank you for that. I thank all of you for that. I still won't make what a beginning jail officer makes. And I think Sheriff Kelly and Commander Douglas would speak to that you would not put just any jail officer in my position. Past jail commanders have said that. Rick Morgan told me that. And he told me that after the council several years ago gave the jail officers a $2,500 raise and bypassed us. And they did that because turnover was so high in the jail. He was tired, his exact words were, "I'm tired of losing jail officers to dispatch." Because at that time, dispatch made more. So they gave them a $2,500 raise, which put them approximately $1,000 above the transport division. And it wasn't until Sheriff Kelly came in that we finally addressed that, and he got us back to equal, but that's only in the last few years. So I've lost thousands of dollars over the years by somehow transport's not even mentioned. In the last budget meeting I watched on video, they kept saying courthouse security and civil process. I didn't hear transport one time. Now, whether that's because we're classified as courthouse or whatever, but I didn't hear the word transport one time. I could continue to go on. I mean, I'm not going to speak for courthouse security and civil process. They can speak for them. Sheriff Kelly can speak for them. I'm speaking for the transport division specifically. You have a really great gift that you have Officer McCarty and myself that have been doing this for years. When I was hired by Sheriff Mitchell in 2006, they were looking, and Sheriff Hensley was there at my interview. They wanted somebody that was going to be in this job a long time because it was a high turnover job. And that's exactly what they got. I told them, I'm not looking to be a merit deputy. I'm not looking to move to any other positions. I'm very happy just being a transport officer. And that's what they've got. The rapport we have with the judges, and not everybody can do that. This isn't dismissive of the jail officers, but the jail officers are what they are. They work hard, they deserve the raise, but there's some that are hired that you would never want to be going in the courtroom. They just don't have the temperament. They're either too shy, they're not outspoken enough, whatever it may be. I feel like I had more to say, but I will take any questions you have about, I guess I'm upset that I'm going to be making that much less after this many years of service. But go ahead.
I totally agree with Tim. He's been put in a few situations that have been unfortunate. A few things I want to mention. Transport, I think, was put in the wrong category and I do want to look at that. I really do. I believe from all the TV shows that I've watched, transport is a dangerous spot to be in. If you're going to escape, you're going to do it when you're in transport. So, I just really think that we need to take a look at that. I will say the difference between your pay is not as great as that, only because of the 80 hours versus the 84 CS, or the 84 hours. So there's not as big of a gap as the 5,000. I think it was 1,900 when we calculated it, but there is a difference. It's about 93 cents an hour. So I do think we need to revisit a little bit of that and see. I hate that he's in this situation. I really do. I think this is one situation where we need to step back and take a look at it. I really do.
If I can add to that, we discussed in our last budget hearing that the civil process have the unknown of knocking on doors, serving civil paperwork on highly volatile situations like family law or evictions, et cetera. You don't know what's on the other side of that door. I mean, people are, emotions are raging. But I will say on the transport, you make a point. It's not uncommon that Tim goes to Florida by himself to pick up a prisoner and transports him home. When able to, we do send two of them, or when, the length of the trip requires it, we'll send two. But those are positions where they have to move prisoners. You're not in the car the whole time. We have to feed them, we have to restroom them, et cetera. And we just lost a transport officer in a facility in Marion County last year. He was killed with his own handcuffs, strangled in the sally port of a facility in Marion County. So these guys have a gun, a badge, and a car and body armor for a reason. And civil process, court security, I mean, they all are front lines, knocking on the unknown, transporting the unknown. And just because we're picking them up from a secure facility does not mean they don't have a weapon on them. I've seen several occasions on the road where things have been missed. We see it in the jail probably on a weekly basis where things are missed on pat downs. We had a trooper out of the Lafayette Post miss a gun on a pat down. All the while they're discussing how to kill two troopers inside his vehicle on camera. So it's important that we recognize our public safety, and thank you, Rick, for bringing that up.
If I can touch on that because she touched on a good point. I told the story to Rick yesterday. Several years ago, I had to go to Arizona to pick up a prisoner. Then we had to go to the southern tip of Texas to pick up the second prisoner. So they sent me a jail officer because at the time we didn't have enough special deputies. So I was just sent with a regular jail officer who did not carry a gun. It is what it is, and that's what we did. So we went to Arizona, picked up our prisoner, took them to Texas, let them spend the night there before we left the next day. The first stop we made at a gas station, which is always a dangerous stop because inmate may have to use the restroom or whatever. As I'm getting out of the car, I hear one inmate say to the next inmate, and he's whispering, he goes, "Did you see that guy didn't have a gun?" So he's already watched. He's already looked at that other jail officer and said, he's not carrying a gun. So he's already plotting in his head, boy, if we can overtake the guy with the gun, we could probably be free. And that's the kind of stories we have. We do, I mean, the jail, as hard as they work, they have backup immediately in the jail. So if there's an incident with an inmate that they have to fight or control, immediately there'll be 5, 6, 7 officers that respond. I don't have that. If I go to Evansville to pick up a prisoner and I'm bringing them back and something does happen, they're able to slip their cuffs or whatever and try to attack me in any way, I'm by myself until I can get a hold of another agency in one other county to respond. And that's just the point I would like to make.
And we have had that happen at the sheriff's office. And I think it was, and I'm not going to mention names, but one of the jail officers, and this is years ago, but a juvenile got the best of one of our merit deputies that was transporting. And it does happen. And, regardless, when we find somebody that's mistakenly brought a firearm into the courthouse, and they have to escort that person back, there is a bit of danger there, and so we count on our people, and especially our transport folks, because anywhere in the United States they can go, and we're talking displacement from their own families. We're talking about, hey, I know this is short notice, but you need to get to Texas and pick up and bring back or take, so those are the things that, we kind of count on our people to do. And it's absolutely one of the unsung jobs that has to be done. We are the arm of the court. We do work for the judges, and that is our priority. Regardless of everything that you see out on the highway, our first priority is to the courts as a sheriff's office. And so to fulfill that, we don't want the high turnover. We don't, we're also looking at Tim's time. He's getting close to that magical moment of retirement. And so, it's one of those things where we do have to replace him at a certain point in time. And even with Dave McCarty, same thing. These guys have been doing this for years under three different sheriffs. So let's, I can't ask enough that, we do look at our folks and pay them properly, and that way we don't have the turnover.
I think you lose your incentive. I'll let her talk to that. You'll lose your incentive. Who wants this position when they have to take a pay cut?
Right.
And you're not gonna have qualified people that want it. Go ahead.
I appreciate your passion, all of you making all of your comments. You had my attention just after your first statement. So I'm sorry that this is happening to you. I can see that the difference in the pay grade started sometime back. You were explaining how this happened. And so this is one of the things that we're trying to do with the salary survey is have something that we can point to. And so you were saying, I think you said something like it started because the job was hard to fill, so they increased that,
Yes.
so that made this get tighter and that kind of thing. So we're trying to avoid that. I would recommend that we knew, and we explained on budget day, that we knew the survey was going to cause some issues that we needed to relook at, classifications that maybe weren't put in as they should have. So we need to look at that. So I would recommend that the classification committee be brought together to meet on this instance and any others that have been brought to Bray's office, that we look at them. That doesn't mean we're going to make this ground haul, just all over the board exceptions. But I do know that there are some classification requests that are going to be coming our way, and this is probably one of them.
I appreciate you looking into it.
I would echo that. I would be completely agreeable to, if we have any circumstances as we've gone through, this was a massive endeavor. I mean, just the hundreds and hundreds of hours that got put into this. If there's any examples of an egregious error, we should correct them now. And I think perhaps this is one, and I'll take this as a request to reconsider. And I think we go to the committee. What I don't want is us to just be up here winging it and start guessing. So I wanted to go through the process, but I'm open to the idea that we do it expeditiously and look at it immediately to try to get a resolution prior to the beginning of 2025.
One more comment on the classification thing. Tim and I took a look together again on what other agencies were surveyed as part of the salary survey. And we kind of made in conversation yesterday, the light bulb came on where we're being compared to counties, for example, say Benton County, Carroll County, whatever the case is, where our transport officers or court security. In Clinton County, they're special deputies. They're not just manning doors, for example, at the courthouse, and that's all they're expected to do. So these guys go through the same training requirements as our merit deputies because they're specialists. They have arrest powers. They can serve warrants, things of that nature. So I think that when we look at the classification, again, I don't know what that is. As we discussed in the last budget hearing, I've not seen those classifications, but I do think it's worthy of acknowledgement that they have more training requirements than what, say, maybe Benton County carries for their specific job title.
So I would encourage you to submit. So basically the classifications were done completely on the information provided in the job description. So if there is unique training, unique circumstances that you feel like needs to be known, I would submit that to the committee for review of the job classification.
Very well. And last thing from the sheriff here, I talked to 91 other sheriffs. We share a lot of information in this digital age, probably a little bit better than when Joe was at the sheriff's office and a little bit better when Mike was there as the sheriff. And we have created and built a style that a lot of other sheriff's offices want to follow. We get questioned a lot about how and what we do. We send our jail staff, we send our folks to help transport, search other facilities, Hamilton County, Boone County, several other agencies have requested, how we operate. And I would just like, I take my hat off to our jail staff, to our jail commander, Natasha Douglas, and to the folks that work underneath her and work with her. So, and in a nutshell, is trying to continue the training and bring our jail staff to a point where they can transport and assist and do that. And that's what we've done by increasing the number of special deputies that we have inside the facility. So we wanted to build the inside of the corrections world to the point where everybody is cross-trained, everybody does the jobs, and when we have a shortage at the courthouse, we can send corrections people up there that are special deputies and have that ability. And same thing with transport when when Tim or Dave's on vacation, for those guys to go and do that. And I think it resounds, especially on the federal side, with our inmate program, that we have come and we've met the inspections, we've met the requirements, and we're a facility that they want to keep people at. So those are the things that, I can't say enough about our correction side of the house, is that they are top of the top, and folks from other agencies and other sheriff's offices do, ask how we get this done. And it's by empowering and giving these folks responsibility and training. So that's where we're at. And, so when I get excited about our people, it's because of that, because I care about them. I love those folks. And I do want them to have salaries that are comparable and probably higher than other agencies, because we ask when we put them in those positions to go above and beyond. And I don't usually have to call twice, or even, most of the time it's volunteers that jump up and get things done in the corrections side. So with that, I do appreciate the time and for everybody to kind of reconvene on that committee and take a look at that, especially the transport officers.
Well, I appreciate and respect the advocacy that you have for your staff. And Officer Dillingham, thank you. I mean, that's a difficult position to have to stand up and talk about yourself. And so thank you for giving us that background and context.
Sheriff, you might explain to the rest of the council what a special deputy's duties, how they become special deputies.
The special deputies are selected, and they're selected in the fact of work performance, their ability, their volunteerism, and you look for that, and you don't, and it's hard to find sometimes. And I think Tim was trying to explain how those folks are selected. And it starts with the hiring process. It starts with that initial, visit with them in an interview position. And then you go a few months of actual work and training and on the job things. But the special deputies, once they're selected, and they're given the authority to arrest, they're given the authority and the empowerment. They have to follow the same training guidelines as a merit deputy. 24 hours of training a year, and we're always beyond that. Defensive tactics, which is the fighting skills, the shooting. They have to go through emergency vehicle operation courses. They also have to go through the firearms. All of that training is on top of what they do. And the beauty of having that is, if we have a natural disaster, we have 10 to 15 people that are special deputies that we can put out in our community that can and help keep the peace. And so, from traffic control to being in neighborhoods, monitoring criminal activity, things like that. And, the hurricanes affect us a little bit, and we're not that gonna be that. But I mean, we've had tornadoes, we've had outages, we've had ice storms, we've had winter events where we've had everybody out. During the NHK shooting a few years back, more than half the staff that was out there were special deputies that were securing scenes, securing evidence, securing and relaying people to interviews. We're talking about a mass casualty, from mental health to the people that were murdered. So those are the things, and what we ask for special deputies is to step to that forefront. And, and it's something that we have done a very good job. And I say that, and the majority of the hiring, I only get to see the final product after the interviews. And, but I have faith in my people that do the interviews and select these folks. We are not in a turnover issue in our facility. Why is that? Because we have staff, the upper staff, believes in the people, and they treat them with respect, they train them, they give them a work environment where they respect it. And we are, I think, full staff right now.
We are fully staffed right now.
We're fully staffed. We have been for a few months, and we have people waiting to apply. So, you know, when you talk about jobs for our high school seniors, I can name about 4 18 to 19 and a half year olds that have come to us from the local schools. And some of those guys have moved on to the Frankfurt Police Department and everything else. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I can't talk about our jail staff enough, but they are the supplement to our merit deputy system, that they are there for our community. So they step into those different roles in different situations. And so with that, you know, I appreciate your guys' consideration, and for the other folks that are on the board committee, I would come and sit down and speak to you then, and I'm sure there are some of our staff would. But our special deputies are special, and they do get the authority through the sheriff's office, through state statute, through the sheriff and state statute to empower them to do those things. We have requests quite often from our community. Our fairgrounds, we have to have an officer there when they have alcohol at different events, things like that. So a lot of our special deputies help with that. Our special deputies work overtime projects for Purdue University, of all places. And I know people in our community going, what are they doing at Purdue? Well, when you're moving in, you know, 30,000 plus students, they do need extra help. So our special deputies do go over and help with that. The Richard Allen trial, same thing. They reached out and, you know, in Carroll County, and our folks will be helping with that whenever that gets rolling again. So, you know, those are the things that, you know, our people are vested with.
I'll tell you some other examples real quick. Federally made program, they require 2 armed officers for transport of any federal